Unfortunately, I don't have any hacks to help you during your job search. And for further irony, I did my thesis on it and still can't crack the code. But what I do have are some tips that are going to hopefully help you not go insane while you are looking for that next opportunity. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Outsider Information. I am your host, Brandon, and your strategic partner here with OIAS. As always, if anything resonates, give a like, subscribe, engage, not just here, but social media. Check out the website. The website's great. Drink of the episode should have probably been alcoholic since we are talking about finding work, but this is a creation that I am absolutely proud of. It is a customized tea blend that mirrors a drink that I used to buy a lot when I was in high school. It is not an Arizona tea, but it is a different canned tea variant, so I will have to share the how and the why on a different episode. But back to the task at hand, job hunting. It has been awful for really about the last 5 years, where we've seen the level of difficulty go from 0 to 1,000. And I've got a conspiracy theory as to why, but this is wholesome family programming, so we're going to leave that one alone. But really in the last 5 years, we've seen avenues and pathways of access dry up. Things have gotten a lot harder with these applications. They've become more tedious, all in an attempt to, quote, find the right people. But in the past, Craigslist was a much better option, and they're charging people a lot now. Facebook Jobs is the one that I will always come back to, because I don't know why they would get rid of that. It was such an easy way to access people, and it was such an easy way to get people in touch with employers right away. I found more than, I'd probably say 3 or 4 opportunities with Facebook Jobs dating back into like the 2016-17 range when it was out there. It was a good one, but doesn't exist anymore. You now have endless scrolling, quick applies, Indeed, LinkedIn, with thousands of applicants. It's very easy to feel lost. It's very easy to get frustrated, feel scared, and in a lot of ways start to spiral into a little bit of depression, right? I can't solve these issues, and certainly won't try to in this episode, but I do have tips, because admittedly, I've had to look for jobs much more than desired in this last couple of years, and each search really had its own frustrations. For me, it started back in 2020. And I labeled that the time of uncertainty, which it honestly was for really everybody. People were adjusting to what the new normal was at that time and didn't know what was going to be in the future. We leaned into remote work. Some people loved it, others didn't. And we're still kind of seeing some of the effects of that right now. But for me, I was finishing up my master's program, and I was not knowing if, because at the time I was coaching, if we were ever going to be coaching again. Was I going to have to go find something else? And I found a couple of things. You bring a little bit of money in, and that was really it. Things more or less returned back to normal. And then we get to 2021, which was the lack of clarity. So I'd finished my master's program in 2020. You start your doctoral program in 21. That was my last year coaching. You have an idea of what you want to do after you're done, but I was changing careers, and it was no longer uncertain. I knew where I was going. I just didn't know the exact pathway to getting there. There was the lack of clarity, right? You end up finding a new job. I found a new job relatively quick after being done coaching, even though it felt like months. It really was about a month and a half, and I found something and I was good to go. You get to 2022, so this is now I'll say the second year that I was looking for work as I was trying to progress, second year in a row. 2022 was fear. I felt real fear after leaving the job that I had, thinking that it was going to be, I would find something in a month or two and we'd be good. Now, the fear wasn't necessarily financial. Savings-wise, we were fine. There was a stipend with school. But it never felt like it was going to end until it did. And the fear was, oh my goodness, this could be months, this could be a year, and nothing might change. So, okay, you find work, and I was there for 18 months, and we are now moving to San Diego. I moved to San Diego with a job. The job didn't exist a week before I was set to start it. Okay, find another job. The place closes a month in to being there. Okay, you find a third job, and 2 weeks into working there, they tell you your job no longer exists and you are being reassigned. 2024 was the shock and awe year for me. And even after finishing school, there's really no cracking the code as to why some of these places are as bad as they are, why looking for work is as hard as it is, and really just how to survive. So I am hoping to not be in this position for quite some time now. And I'm currently independent, so I'm in control of a lot of things. But if I do find myself looking for work again, I know it's going to be a daunting challenge. And I know what it takes, how it takes, and I still, again, have to follow my own advice because it is not easy, especially when you are in real time. So off of that, what does this all look like? We're going to talk about two modes, which is looking while you are working, looking while you are unemployed. And both are challenging. Both require a little bit different of a mindset, but they do connect together in some way. I am not trying to help you find a job. I am just going to try my best to prevent you from going insane while you look. And again, let the record show I failed to take my own advice multiple times, so I am hoping that this episode allows you to be better than me. Okay? Gonna take a swig real quick. Spot on. All right. Looking for work while you are working. Why would somebody look for work while working? Well, aside from that being the new normal, dead end. I've been in plenty of jobs where you know the only way you're going to move up is if you move out. The job changes, right? What if they tell you your job doesn't exist anymore? You're being reassigned. Poor treatment. You might have an abusive environment, one that is just dragging you down. Or it could be the triangle of discontent, whether it's money, benefits, or lifestyle, one of them or all of them converging to make you unsatisfied at work. I am a believer that everybody is for sale. And when I say that, people who run companies are just like, well, my people wouldn't leave. Trust me, they would leave. Because you would leave. If somebody, forget not owning a company for a second, but any job, pick any job. If somebody offered you $5,000-$10,000 more for literally the same work and same conditions, at the very minimum, you're going to think about it because money talks. People are interested in advancing themselves for it, and they will take a chance on something unknown if there is a true and tangible benefit for it. That is just philosophically where I aligned. And that might sound exhausting, but that is the reality. So in turning that back to the worker, you don't have to keep looking, but you should never stop looking, even once you have found the thing. It is never a bad idea to look at what the job that you currently have could become, whether it be in the environment you're in or another environment. It just really becomes about how you want to manage your time and how you want to stay sane as you are doing so. Now, if you are working, you've got two choices here of how this is going to be. It's either going to be remote work or it's going to be not remote work. The advantage for looking for work while you are working clearly is to the remote worker. Looking for work, it feels like a full-time job. What I was able to do, and I've had to do it in both, so I'll give examples, but when I was working remotely, I did all of my initial work on my downtime at work. I knew my schedule very well. So when it came to how I was going to research for jobs, doing all those things, I just built it into what my day was. I was looking for work some days more than I was actually working because if I didn't have a schedule on my meeting or I had my task done, I filled that time looking for a job that was going to be after this. Again, we were moving to San Diego also, so that's part of it too. Knowing your schedule really helps and matters. You can get the timing, the sequence, the cadence down of how that's going to be, and you can start building things in, especially if people at work know a little bit of how you work. You can just pop things up. You can put things on your schedule if you have a specific work task you are doing, and you can just kind of build yourself a little bit of that time anyway so that you can look for work while you were at work. Again, that is how I was able to do it. I kept things quiet. I kept them normal. I didn't change too much about what my schedule looked like. Things just weren't popping up. That's how you tell on yourself. If you're going to manipulate your own schedule to help you look for work while you are working, you've got to keep things as normal as possible. Things have to not look suspicious. That time was spent kind of saving jobs. I was doing resume tweaks. I was researching some roles, right? And I also, again, since we were moving to San Diego, had a time zone advantage. I was +2 at the beginning and end of the day. So as I was getting my day started, they were not. So you had a chance to kind of prepare and settle in. At the end of the day, I could schedule interviews towards the end of my day at 5 or 6 o'clock p.m. in the Midwest, because that was 3 or 4 o'clock p.m. on the West Coast. So you kind of got to know those pockets, right? The real work, though, existed in the application. I'm still not. I don't really tweak my resume or my cover letter for the specific role. I have reasons for that. But the work was really just in getting all that stuff filled out. That would be the time consuming part. And I didn't do too much of that during the day. I did use AI. And if you are going to tweak your resume, cover letter, could probably do a different workshop on that. But it's going to be important for you to have some consistencies so that you can just kind of copy, paste, drag and drop and scale it. AI is much better now than when it was when I was doing all this initially. So again, take that with a grain of salt. Don't use it for everything as it relates to resumes, cover letters, but it can be used to kind of help simplify a couple of things. Very important is separating your devices. Do not look for work on a work device. I don't think that companies are just out here monitoring people, but it's very easy to get things crossed, right? You could leave a resume on there. You could accidentally message somebody something. Like, there's a lot that can go wrong if you don't keep those things separate. I would recommend having separate devices. If you have a home office, just have your other computer, your laptop there next to your work computer. Call it good. Still set dedicated time for this and then for that. So if you are going to be doing any dedicated off work time while you're looking for work while employed, set aside some time to do specific tasks, but also set aside time to do stuff for you, right? Separate the two. Have dedicated time for both. Make sure you don't drive yourself insane. There is no advantage to applying for things in the dead of night. With my job, when I was working remotely, I did not answer emails after work because my job was compliance focused. My job was rooted in filling things out with agencies that worked 8 to 5. If they are not working, they're not going to see your application. Even those auto rejections you get in the middle of the night, those are timed, right? And somebody's not looking at your application at 10:31 p.m. on a Thursday and deciding, okay, yeah, this person's out. And if they are, fix yourself, because that's a really unhealthy habit. And if you are working that late at night screening resumes, you are probably not at your very best. So go get some sleep, have some water, call it good. All right. Your primary responsibility is your current job. Again, this goes back to keeping things normal. You don't want it to appear like you are distracted. I look at the complex of coaches who are interviewing for jobs during the playoffs. We see this in the NFL a lot. And then the team loses and people wonder, well, they were interviewing, were they really that invested in the game plan, or were they trying to earn their next job? Your primary responsibility is the job that you have. Keep it focused there, because if you lose that while looking for work, you're going to have a whole set of different problems, which we will get to in just a little bit. So don't press, don't push, don't panic. Do what you can. Again, it's going to feel like you're working 2 jobs, okay? Jumping into in-person work before combining these two. It is a lot harder to look for work while you are working in person. The benefit is that we do have phones, and the legwork can be done there when you've got little pockets of downtime. There's going to be more evening and morning work with your saving jobs, your saving resumes. You're going to be doing a lot of stuff before you show up and a little bit after you show up, just so that you can keep track of everything. Going back to keeping it normal, it's very easy to appear visibly stressed or be off, right? Say that you have been interviewing, right? They're making a decision. That is all going to seep into your presence if you are working in person. People can sense that stuff, especially when you are usually consistent. Again, much easier in the past when we had things like Facebook Jobs. That was the peak moment because we're on Facebook a lot. We all check our phones. Very easy to scroll, message, and get that instant feedback. Now, if you've got lunch breaks or any downtime, you have really got to maximize it and be ready for a lot of twists. You could get a phone call, you could get an email during your work shift and not be able to email them back or get right back to them. Don't panic, right? People know that if you're looking for work, you probably have other obligations. If you can't respond right away, absolutely do it. But don't feel like that if you don't respond in the next 30 minutes, that person's going to move off you. That is not how it works when it comes to some of these operations. And if they're putting that kind of pressure on you, not a place that you want to work. Okay? The parallels between the remote worker and the in-site worker, you're both employed, right? Either way, it's going to feel like you are working double duty. You're putting additional effort in to find something new while you currently have something. For me, I was doing a doctoral program. I was working full-time we were moving to San Diego, and I was looking for work. And all those things were happening at separate times, some of them all happening together. That was me, and yes, it is insanely stressful, and you really got to work at it, all right? Make sure you set aside time for yourself because you are going to need it, right? That is going to be really, really, really important, is that you take the time, especially because if you are employed, you have income coming in. Buy yourself that coffee, right? Give yourself something that you can look forward to on the weekends, whatever it is. Keep yourself sane with the things that you enjoy if you can, right? If you've got the resources, make sure and do it. If you have PTO, sick time, use it. This is a separate argument to people who burn through all their PTO or they're sick and safe or whatever it is called, parallel of PTO. Make sure you have some of that, especially if you were going to be looking for work. And my case is, what if you got to do an interview, right? You can only get that interview done at a certain time. You might have to burn a day of PTO, right? That's what it's there for. And your employer, they ask questions. Okay, figure out whatever it is you're going to answer it with, but you've got that time to use for a reason. Use it. Use your PTO, whether it's for sanity, whether it's for an interview. Figure out a way to squeeze that in if you have it available. If you are ever asked why you are leaving your current role, you do not have to disclose that. You can give a really generic answer about growth. You can give a really generic answer about new opportunities. You can say anything, but you don't have to tell them why or any particular reason that you are leaving the role that you are in, because that is a question that comes up. Are you currently employed? Okay, so there's that. Rely on those around you if you have them, right? Try to stay sane. People need people, and if you have people, trust me, it's a lot easier to get through some of these processes with them so it doesn't consume you. Keep your normal. I'm big on routines, right? If you've got things that you do that help you out during the day, during your regular job, keep doing those. Do not sacrifice the things that help you just because you need to squeeze an extra 15, 30 minutes out of your day. And then the other thing is, don't look at the clock. And by that, I mean, if you are currently employed and you are miserable and you are just desperate to get out, do not look at the days, the weeks, the months that it is taking for you to get out, because that's going to be further frustrating and further demoralizing and make your process even harder. Okay? So that's all we got there. I'm going to take another swig. That was a lot of words, and we are over right now. Usually I try to keep these under 15. We ain't doing it. So, unemployed. I have been here too. And it is a different kind of stress when you are looking for work when you don't have work. Now, if you're me, you left your job without something else in place because you were confident that it was not going to be you. And if it is not you and you left your thing and you found something right away, thrilled for you, right? Those are the success stories that we want, not the reality. And while I wouldn't necessarily say stay in your environment if you are really struggling, I also don't know if I would recommend leaving your job without something in place to replace it unless you've got everything else buttoned up, right? But why can this happen otherwise, right? Job loss, you could get terminated, layoff, whatever it is. If you are unemployed and looking for work, it's going to be a challenge because your number one concern is probably going to be money. And then right behind that is going to be your insurance benefits. Control what it is you can control, especially if you are leaving on your own, because there are some variables that you can kind of lock in place. The question then, if you are going to choose to leave, is do you give notice or do you not give notice? There are benefits to both. You see stories of people giving notice and then getting termed a little bit before they are supposed to leave because, well, you were leaving anyway and we're just going to do it now. There's some legality issues that come with that, and a lot of times it has to deal with your PTO payout. They don't end up having to pay it out because you were technically termed. That's one thing. But going back to the things that you can control, that last check, your PTO, the insurance bridge, look at your employee handbook and see when all those things matter. Because if you're going to leave, you need to be able to do it with some semblance of responsibility to yourself. I always left to make sure that I had another check coming. I wanted to make sure that I was going to be getting paid at least for another cycle. And then on top of that, my PTO payout. When I left jobs, I made sure that I had insurance for the rest of that month, right? You want to make sure that you leave yourself in a position so that you don't have to scramble to find insurance or pay for Cobra, which is awful, awful ratio and just a money pit if you do it. Because, yeah. So, again, control what you can control, because everything is going to start to feel out of control very quickly if you jump into the job search and things don't go your way right away. What's going to feel different is because you're not working, you have all of your time to focus on this one thing. It can become obsessive, it can become destructive, and it can become psychologically damaging when all you are doing all day is applying for jobs, hearing nothing, dealing with rejections that aren't coming from people. You may even start and end in the same exact place that you woke up and went to bed. Take a deep breath, right? Don't let your routine erode. That is going to be the thing that I think is going to be the most helpful to you, because it was the most helpful to me. Do the things that you like. Do the things that are helpful to you. Even now, when I'm working independently, staring at a screen, I get up, I do my meal prep in the morning, I try to get my workout in before 10, I shower, I put on normal, regular clothes, because I want to feel like I'm functional, right? To me, if I'm not doing all that, I feel kind of sloppy. I don't feel great about anything else. Do not let your routine erode. Go outside, see people if you have them. Again, do the things that you like. During the last bit of time when I was really unemployed in 2022, I started reading comics from a TV show, the Avatar comics. I'd never read them, and I would just take a little bit of a break in the day, read through some of it, put it down, and then go back to what I was doing. Treat it like work. That's the advice that I would have, right? Because looking for work, it feels like a full-time job. Start your day, have breakfast, workout, shower, schedule or break your day up. Maybe you're going to follow up on emails here. Maybe you're going to look for opportunities here. Maybe you're going to do resume adjustments here. Have a lunch break. Have a hard ending to all the hard stuff, right? I treated it like it was an 8 to 4. Passive work can exist in the evening, but again, your application isn't going to be seen at night. They're not going to be looking for you after work hours end. It's going to be able to be wait until tomorrow. I don't know if there's any validity to when you submit your applications in, but if that thing pops up on someone's email at 10 a.m. versus 8 p.m., they have a chance to see it in real time, in my opinion. Your weekends matter. Do some light stuff to prep. Maybe look at where you've applied. Look at some potential new opportunities, but go have yourself a weekend if you are able to do so. Being unemployed does give you one distinct advantage over everybody else, because when I was not working, I had the flexibility to go out and do different events, networking events, job fairs. You can follow up with in-person roles, staffing agencies. You can be a little bit more open with a staffing agency as to your circumstances and why you are where you're at, to really help them find that thing. You can test out new aspects of your routine. Maybe you wanted to start building something in. Now is your chance to tinker with that. Really learn how you function, right? I feel better when I do this. For me, it's the list, making sure I shower and put on actual clothes during the day. Feel everything. It is a hard process. It's difficult, right? There were times that you want to cry yourself to sleep. You think that it's never going to end. I was writing on a whiteboard every morning that today was going to be the day, right? There are so many aspects. There's an emotional toll that comes with this that you have to acknowledge, and you can't keep it bottled up, because if you do, it's going to make things, again, exponentially harder. Looking for work now is hard, and it's not getting easier, but long term it will be easier, because a system like this cannot stay sustained. Okay, one other way that you could also do things, and I've also done this, is there are ways that you can make money. And I'm not talking about plasma and doing things like that, but look for something part-time. Right? If it's about getting out, being around people, working in an environment that brings in a little bit of income, again, not going insane, part-time work is there. People really do need part-time workers, and it could be something that could give you a different perspective, new experience, things that could be valuable in addition to the money. And you just never know where an opportunity would go. You can make money. If you are just looking for a full-time role, could make things difficult, could be really easy, but if you look for something part-time with the caveat that I'm looking for something full-time, there's a lot of people who would bring you on to kind of bridge that gap. And that I do know for a fact. Okay. We are getting close here. There's no secret to a successful search. Anybody who sells you on they can find you a job, they can do this, see my short on paying for resume services, unless they are in the company, and even then, unless they are making the decisions, nobody can guarantee you anything. A successful search is one that is over once you have found the job that you want. So that could be a month, that could be 2 months, 3 months. It's very different for everybody. Use the time, though, to learn, right? You can learn a whole lot through the process. And with every application, interaction, interview, think of it like workshopping a pitch. You're going to get more comfortable. You're going to really refine and hone your voice. And that's going to be helpful to you. You're going to get a chance to understand what works, what doesn't work. If you have a chance, ask for feedback if you don't get a role. And some people will be really put off by it, and others will be really helpful and be happy you asked for feedback. Honestly, more people are willing to give you feedback than not. And companies, you are allowed to give feedback as long as it's, constructive and not rooted in bias. You can get it on the first try. And again, I hope that for all of you. If you're looking for work, I hope the first application you put in sees it, thinks you're great, interviews you, and brings you on within the next 2 weeks. That is the story that I hope we get. But you're never going to know when it's going to click. It could happen at any moment. Some of the jobs I found, people found me. It was an application that was in there probably from a month prior. I've gotten opportunities through OIAS because somebody saw a short. You don't know how people are going to find you. So present yourself the best way that you can. Be prepared, right? Be prepared for everything and anything, whether you are looking while you're working, whether you're unemployed. It can happen on a dime, and you don't want to be flat-footed when that opportunity could show its face. When you get that role, you don't want to have to relearn yourself, which again is the emphasis on having that routine, those things that you do. Do not just get into a pit of looking for work. If you don't do any work on yourself while you have the ability to, you're going to have to relearn everything, and it can be overwhelming. So again, really do the work on yourself. All right, we kept it under 30. I'm going to get us out of here. That's really tasty. Oh, it's so good. Like, subscribe, and engage if there's anything here that resonates. As you know, we're not going to save the world with anything here, but this one is personal. So if I can do anything to make this process a little less stressful for anybody, please reach out. I will happily jump on a call, exchange an email, something to just bring a little bit of sanity, because this, it is not easy. And I empathize with anybody who is looking for work under any circumstances. So yeah, that's certainly a point for me. But on that, we are out of here. Happy Tuesday. Thank you as always. We will see you next time.